Welcome to Vibesnfrequencies. My name's Nathan, and I make videos to help people to be the most powerful expression of themselves. And in this video, I'm talking about invoking real elemental magic. The magic that's woven into all of the nature, all of the elements: earth, fire, air, water. Now, oh my gosh. Sorry, I just inhaled a lot of my hair. I've been obsessed with magic and super into the elements for as long as I can remember. Since I was like a little kid, I would be in my parents' backyard and I'd be like playing in the mud, and I would be looking for like fairies, and I would be trying to craft spells and things of this nature. I've been totally into magic. It's been my life path really unfolding. And lately, I found myself, on occasion, it's just kind of natural, comes in when I'm aligned perfectly for it, right? I've found this real elemental power and energy coming through me, and you really can feel it, and you really are it. And when I'm in these states, I find myself doing really interesting movements with my hands and things, and I can feel myself moving these elements and bending with them, creating, co-creation, like really unifying myself with this energy. And when I walk away from these events, it is as if I am always these places, as if they are a part of me and my experience and I'm a part of them. It's like a piece of my spirit and the infiniteness that I am is always refracting back into this place. And it's like I always have this channel that I can re-tap into this energy and feel it wherever I am in the world. And I can bring this up again. So this is a really cool ability and power that we naturally have, and we can use this to transmute, to change the energies in a room, to be one place but energetically be in another. We're looking at real, actual magic. So, real elemental magic, for us to find ourselves tapping into it, is what I'm going over in this video, and how I found myself tapping into it. And I'll share these things because, well, I will, and perhaps you'll resonate, and we'll both be doing elemental magic together. It'll be like Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? So, I'm going to show you some of these movements, and I'm going to explain how to actually connect to these almost kind of energy pockets where this really pure energy exists, and it is very elemental. So, firstly, is an understanding. And what we must understand to invoke the real elemental magic around us, the real power, the real raw energy, is that we must stop seeing magic as a dominating force. Now, not dominating as in it's trying to destroy everything or you're going to use it for evil. Dominating as in creating change with it, trying to move things, trying to manipulate reality, trying to do something for yourself, things like this. If we continue to view magic in this way, then magic will likely not make itself known to you in the kinds of ways that I'm at least talking about in this video. So, magic, we must see it not as a dominating force, not as something that we are trying to connect to or take, because we can never own it. We can never own it. It is something that is simply there, and we can experience it and have it flow through us and be at one with it, but you never hold on to it. You never own it. It's impossible. So we need to stop looking at magic as something that we would be doing things with, and see it as simply the way that it is. It is the natural world around us. It is magic. So it's really actually about us aligning ourselves with it, not trying to use it. Now, this being said, there are actual uses and really magical things that we can actually experience the process of using it for our own benefit. But it's just a shift in perspective. It's not a dominating force. It's nothing to reach into and to use for yourself. It's something that's just there. Now, secondly, is that you might find yourself in a place that naturally has this kind of energy. So right now I'm in Hawaii, for example, and if I want to be connecting to earth, elemental energy, ocean, the water, the wind. Sometimes we can use it to our benefit to actually go out to one of these places. You don't need to go to Hawaii. You can stay where you are. There's certainly nature somewhere near you within a certain kind of drive. So these can be really powerful places to go to help us to tap into this elemental energy for the very first time. And once we recognize it and we practice it and we feel it, that's when we can start accessing it and utilizing it no matter where we are in the world. But for the first time, it's very useful for our person human vehicle suit to find themselves in a place with high amounts of the kind of energy that we want to be becoming one with. So, when you are in these places, the way to tap into these is very similar to a lot of things that I've been discussing on my channel lately. And so I won't go deeply into it as I have in many past videos, but it is to listen. So this is the first entrance. This is the entrance into the elemental energy that is around you. It is to listen to this element, to become one with it. So what we're going to do is take all of our sensory capabilities that our human vehicle suit has: sight, smell, taste, sound, actual feeling and sensing the world around you. We are going to use these to our advantage. Normally, it is our senses that have us very distracted a lot of times and not in the present moment connecting with these kinds of elemental energies. But it doesn't have to be this way. It also is a very powerful gift that we can use. Again, this is simply a matter of what we have personally practiced and realized within ourselves. So we're going to tune all of our senses to the element that we want to be connecting to. So for me, I will say now that we will be talking about the earth. So we can go ahead for the earth elemental and to simply feel, put your hands and your feet. This is really powerful. These are energy centers that we can receive and again create a flow externally out. This is how we can really utilize our channel vehicle. So we can feel the earth. We can feel it with our feet, feel it with our hands. I know it sounds super hippy-dippy, but these are real things. And you simply allow yourself to tune all of your senses to it. Put all of your attention, all of your focus on this. There's a concept that goes around in the spiritual community known as the law of attraction. So some of the principles in this are utilized here in this way. We simply give all of our attention to this element. We let ourselves go and we start to feel it coming in. And what happens now is you are invoking this elemental magic and this presence that is woven into all of the resources and the world around you. What this might begin to feel like when you are starting to knock on the door, for example, when you're starting to enter into this element to become one with it and feel this energy really connecting to something that feels much more grand than even just, say, your soul, for example. What it might begin to feel like is as if your mind is still talking, you're still here, but suddenly you are the rock as well. It is as if your person is growing, you are expanding. Your awareness is slowly reaching out. You can imagine like a radius field and it's growing and growing. And you start to become very conscious of the area that you are in. So this is when we begin to knock on the door. When I say we're listening to this element and we're taking it in, I really, really mean that we're listening to it. There's sound in everything. There's frequencies all around us. So we simply give all of our attention to the specific element, just like how you would do with the law of attraction, which I got lots of law of attraction videos. I'll put a playlist for you. And we just allow ourselves to expand in that area. And it will continue. And suddenly, it may start to appear as if we are a bird's eye perspective of the area. We start to become the actual environment. Now, what's really uniquely powerful here is that we can tune in to the different elements individually. We can discriminate and choose to focus on one, and this often helps us in the entrance, knocking on the door. As we expand with this element, we start to begin to feel the wind in a much different kind of way. We start to feel the moisture in the air no matter where we are. We start to feel the earth and this almost sort of rope, but something much more fixed and fragile simultaneously going straight through us. And this is in all things, and we feel ourselves in it. So we really start to feel very sensual. When we start to become very sensitive to the environment around us, this is when we find ourselves actually in the experience of being relevant to the element itself. Because there's really nothing that you or I are doing to tap into this element. It's actually a matter of us needing to stop doing things to be able to tap into it. You see what I'm saying? If we're focused on all these other things, then we won't be a part of it. If we let all the other things go, then we are now a part of it, even though we always are. This is awareness. So once we find ourselves in this, we will feel very sensitive. We will feel very vulnerable to everything happening. It is suddenly a lot louder. This is when we know that we are in the realm that we are going to be accessing these pockets of energy. Now, when we are in this time and space, coexisting with the nature around us in this way, we are now recognized by nature as being a part of it. Now, this is just the way that my ego is going to explain it to you. Words are very limiting. They're boxes and definitions, but we've got to use them sometimes. The nature and these elemental pockets of energy are woven into you, and you are woven into them naturally. And so by sitting down and allowing the nature to, in a sense, become part of you again, because normally we're walking around, we're creating society. If you look at our collective population, you can see by the way that we live our lives and the way that we are impacting the earth, you can visually see where humans collectively, for the majority, stand in terms of nature. We stand outside of it, believing that we are separate. And so this is why we've severed our connection to the elemental magic and the natural forces of the world around us, all of these intuitive energies, all of these things that make being human so magical. We have simply severed these ties, but it's very easy to repair it. And it's to sit down and allow yourself to listen again. And in this space of being fully sensitive, you will realize fully that these elements are always here, and that we have simply been walking out of frame from them. Now, once we realize this and we've tapped into it, the magic is that no matter where we are in the world, we have the ability to reference it, because in this time and space coexisting with these elements, we feel the sense of the infiniteness in everything. One single drop of water, when we are tuned in this sensitive way, one single drop of water, you see it, and you see every single drop of water that will ever be, and every single drop of water that has ever been. This is the way that it is. The infinite complexities that are woven all throughout our universe suddenly become very full, and our experience in life becomes very, very powerful, and very perfect and beautiful in this sense. And it is as simple as sitting down and taking the time to choose to recognize it. So this is how we can access these kinds of things. Now, when I myself have tuned in and I find myself in the room, okay, this is a strange analogy, but after we've been knocking on the door, we get in. Once I'm in the room and I turn around and I shut the door so that I'm fully in there, I'm not worrying about exiting, I'm not worrying about leaving with anything. I'm simply in the room fully, that's it. That's my only scope of reality, the door's shut. No worries. I start to find myself doing interesting hand movements. Now, these aren't happening with my own thinking. I'm not thinking that I'm trying to do these movements. They simply happen naturally. as if my body really becomes part of nature again, and so the nature energy and the magic and the elemental powers, they flow through me, and our body, in such a sensitive state, flows naturally with these. So I start to find myself doing movements that it's almost as if I'm not the one doing them. It truly is as if my experience becomes not being Nathan, not being me, but suddenly I really truly am all of the elements around me. I'm much bigger, much more grand and expansive. And so everything that Nathan is doing, I'm not tuned into, I'm not attached to it. They're naturally happening the same way that the trees are blowing in the wind, right? The same way that the current moves in the water. Now, I will demonstrate and show you what some of these movements look like for me, but the point here is to tune into the environment around us, because the movement may always find itself different. And when we look at, for example, the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, if you've ever seen this, these movements, the sensitivities in that show, the spiritual power and information that is woven into that television show, it is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. I'm grateful I watched it as a young child, because it certainly influenced some of my programming very, very well. So, a lot of it looks like this anyways. So here's what some of my movements will look like. Now again, these movements are not something that I consciously am going, all right, time to do a movement, time to do this so I can connect with the water, time to do this. They really truly are something that just happens. It's really similar to autopilot. It's a very trippy sensation. It's like everything that you are is just happening and unfolding before you, and you truly are just the observer. Now these movements for me really help me to connect to these feelings and these energies. And what's powerful for me is these become memory. My body being there in this experience, the cells within me, everything is collecting memory constantly and contributing to my reality and my experience and how I perceive it. So having had my body in an experience where I really truly am one with everything, and my body's naturally doing this, for an example, when I walk away from this experience in my life, sometimes I find myself naturally doing this movement again no matter where I am, and it is as if it is a trigger that streamlines in this experience once again, and suddenly it's like I've completely teleported through the dimensions and completely shifted my perspective in any given moment. It is as if I can reference the real, true depth and wisdom that is woven into the natural world around us by these movements. But I will say not to focus on this too much, because this is putting your attention in the wrong place. Again, we only are giving our attention to the element and the energy and the actual presence of existence here. Now, when we tap into these things, a lot of us will actually experience ourselves starting to develop very unique abilities, very unique perspectives, very unique abilities to all of a sudden have this switch turn on and serious intense wisdom just flows through. Magical things are happening around us, we can feel this elemental power, and we maintain this position of observation. And you can see how this is real magic that influences our life in every single moment. Now, when people talk about meditation, the last thing I'll leave you with in this video that's a very powerful way to connect to these energy pockets at any given moment is to focus on your breath, just like meditation says, but I want to explain this differently because I did not understand when this was said to me. We are not focusing on our breath as in controlling it. We're not giving all of our attention to our breath as if we have to. We're actually letting go entirely, because your breath is something that happens naturally. You can be thinking about anything and your breath will continue happening. You don't have to think about it for it to take place. This is why we are paying attention to our breath is because it's naturally taking place. But a lot of us, when we start paying attention to our breath, we start forcing it, we start feeling into it, we start changing it, we become hyper aware. And this is not the purpose. And this is relevant to tap into the natural world around us because the same breath of consciousness flows in all things. So when we allow ourselves to simply experience our breath taking place naturally, oftentimes we all of a sudden find ourselves waking up into the present moment going, oh my gosh, here I am. Woo! Encore. So this is really the truth of what we're doing. We are listening to what is natural and letting go of our own intentions and things that we're doing. Now, I do have all kinds of videos about magic and psychic powers and things like this, all kinds of crystal stuff. I'll tag some interesting videos below for you that are relevant to this video. I do make 3 videos a week. You can subscribe, and I'll see you for the next. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks.